would like next to introduce Sundiata Salam, a master's candidate in Pan-African Studies, who will present the student address. Sundiata earned a Bachelor of Arts degree at University of Arkansas at Little Rock. His academic career at SU is distinguished by his engagement in a number of community initiatives in the Syracuse area. He taught courses in the Youth Heritage Empowerment Program, was a member of the Southside Community Coalition, and co-facilitated Black History Month classes at Beecham Library, for which he received the 2007 Beecham Library Award for Community Excellence. Please welcome Sundiata.
I do not recall the actual date, but I remember that it was around maybe 1 or 2 o'clock on a hot summer day in Little Rock, Arkansas, which people in Syracuse are familiar with, when I received this call. There was a number and area code that was unfamiliar to me, but I decided to answer the phone anyway. And the voice on the line asked to speak to Sundiata Salam, and I immediately thought, how did the telemarketers get my cell phone? Nevertheless, it was not a telemarketer, but a call that I had been anticipating. The voice on the phone asked me if I was interested in a fellowship that would pay for my education to attend Syracuse University's Pan-African Studies program. And before I could even begin to say yes, I had already began calling my father on my house phone to tell him the special news. And so here I am now trying to juggle two phones, and I finally respond to what had to be the most beautiful voice I had ever heard. And I said, yes, of course, I would like to do that. And I have been joking, but this voice that was on the phone was an extremely beautiful voice. And I don't mean the tone or the pitch of the voice, but the sincerity of it in the voice. Like when she told me that from reading my work on Malcolm X, that she was confident that I would fit right into the program. I did not feel that she was merely throwing me a pitch, because that pitch had already been done with the fellowship. But this person was truly affirming, and she was kind. And when I finally met Dr. Mishere Mugo, not only was she affirming, but also always open and available to me as a source of knowledge and comfort. Yet, what I'm saying today is not just about Dr. Mugo. When I became settled at the school, I was able to meet people like Angela Davis, Haile Galima, Yussi Kwayana, Ify Amadume, Nikki Giovanni, John Singleton, Elaine Brown, Rakim, Bell Hooks. And I have an interesting story about Bell Hooks. I actually had the privilege to pick her up from the airport. And when I picked her up from the airport, she got in the car and she said, is there a Salvation Army around here? And I'm confused. And I said, yes, there's a Salvation Army around here. She says, okay, well, let's go there. Okay, you're Bell Hooks. Sure, I'll take you to the Salvation Army. We get to the Salvation Army, and her purpose, she said she just wanted to buy some clothes for the event at that night that she had to speak. So it was a very, very good privilege. I think I am the only one who can say that they took bells up to Salvation Army. But what I noticed was a similar strain when I met these activists in their own right. They all seemed to have a disposition that was affirming of others. Many of them had sacrificed greatly in their own life, caring for the lives of others, and working to build communities of healing and peace rather than destruction and war. Even when I studied the material given during my seminars, which was a lot of books, as stated before, I noticed a similar strain. Many peoples nurturing the concept of caring, of trust, respectfulness, and unselfishness, despite the situations that were surrounding them, in order for them to create powerful and peaceful communities. Now, I experienced this openness when I would eat at also Dr. Horace Campbell's house. They would encourage me to eat until I was full, as we would sit around with numerous guests and have conversations late into the night, even though I had this class in the morning. And I remember performing poetry at different events and sitting on academic panels, and my roommate, who is also in the Pan-African Studies program, would applaud me, at no time feeling threatened because I was doing good, but feeling great because he felt my accomplishments were also his accomplishments. So what was it that I was experiencing? And as I got further into my master's program and I began to work on my thesis, which was briefly titled Spirituality and Resistance, I studied resistance movements in Angola, Kenya, Haiti, and in the United States, which all at their core had the desire to have a society which developed from respect, trust, caring, and unselfishness. And then it happened. One day while I was doing research and also talking to one of my professors, I came across this word Ubuntu. I said, what is Ubuntu? I came to find out, and Bishop Desmond Tutu actually described Ubuntu as saying, a person with Ubuntu, quote, a person with Ubuntu is open and available to others, affirming of others, does not feel threatened that others are able and good, for he or she has a proper self-assurance that comes from knowing that he or she belongs in a greater whole and is diminished when others are humiliated or diminished, and is humiliated when others are tortured or oppressed. End quote. Sounds familiar. Someone who is affirming of others. Someone not feeling threatened that others are able and good. How about this? Nelson Mandela described Ubuntu using the following analogy. He said, quote, a traveler through a country would stop at a village, and he didn't have to ask for food or for water. Once they stopped, the people give him food. They entertain him. That is one aspect of Ubuntu, end quote. Then I learned that Ubuntu loosely meant, I am because of who we are. That the concept emphasized recognizing the humanity of others, and by recognizing the humanity of others, you can also recognize your own humanity. Ubuntu was about community building and respect, love, unselfishness for the greater good. But this does not mean that one denies himself. On the contrary, Nelson Mandela said, quote, Ubuntu does not mean that people should not address themselves. The question, therefore, is, are you going to do so in order to build the community around you and for it to be able to improve? End quote. Ubuntu became the foundation of my work and my life. But how could it not? I was surrounded by scholars who not only taught scholarship, but put it in action. So that brings me now to us biology majors, chemistry, English, math, Pan-African studies, philosophy, religion, and etc. What are we going to do with our degrees? Sure, we are all ecstatic, as I know I am, to receive them. Glad that the struggle is over, which I know was a struggle for me. But what now? Personally, I'm very honored by receiving my degree, but I'm even more honored and enamored by learning about Ubuntu. So as we go on our separate endeavors, we cannot forget Ubuntu and recognize our connection with one another. This is now the time to put the scholarship in action, being affirming of others, showing care, compassion, respect, unity, all while trying to establish a worldwide community which will thrive if we always remember Ubuntu. Congratulations and thank you.